At ease, it's your boy Soul Immortal. Man, since the beginning of time, it has been shown to us that any species that was unable to evolve during extreme climate or environmental changes would eventually be extinct. Let's take the woolly mammoth, for example. The woolly mammoth was at one point in time, man, one of the strongest beasts that ruled the planet. You know, due to extreme climate change, they were forced to the small corners of Wrangel Island, where they eventually died because they were unable to evolve from what the climates called for. Let's look at the passenger pigeons. It was once said that there were 3 to 5 billion passenger pigeons in the U.S. alone. It was said that when they migrated, that the skies were just filled with black for hours at a time. They eventually died because settlers came in and cut the trees down, and they were just unable to adapt to the changing conditions. I believe it said the last passenger pigeon died in 1914. And then let's take my favorite animal, man, the saber-toothed tiger. Now, contrary to popular belief, man, the saber-toothed tiger was built more like a bear, right? It was said that these animals had teeth that could grow up to 19 inches long. And it was said that they were the greatest hunters on earth at one point in time, man. But again, due to climate change, these animals would eventually be extinct because of their inability to evolve. So why am I telling you all this, guys? I'm bringing this up, man, because I think when it comes to MGTOW, a lot of us are confusing adaptation with evolution. See, adaptation is a slight change that takes place when there's a minor change in your climate or your environment, right? Take the chameleon, for example. When you see a chameleon standing on brown leaves and he steps on the green grass and he turns green, that's adaptation. When you're out playing basketball with your boys, right? And you have a few beads of sweat coming down you to keep your body cool. That's adaptation. That's not evolution. What evolution is when there is an extreme climate change or an extreme change in environment, and a species has to pretty much rewrite its whole DNA code. You know what I mean? Take the flying squirrel, for example. Now, millions of years ago, the flying squirrel was directly related to the tree squirrel. Due to extreme environmental changes, this animal had to create new bones over a few generations and create a membrane from its arms to its legs so it can glide from tree to tree. And the same thing is happening in Africa with the elephant. Elephants have been getting killed for several hundred years, man, due to their tusk. Scientists are seeing now that elephants are beginning to be born without tusk. This is in order for them to survive. That's evolution. So let's bring this all home. So today, we men are going through a climate change. I mean, there's been an extreme environmental change in the world today. I mean, if you think about how life was 50 years ago, 100 years ago, it was a completely different lifestyle for men. I mean, look at the laws that have been put in place today that are specifically to hurt men. Look at the Me Too movement. I mean, it's so easy for a woman to get a man in court and to have him doing years in prison with absolutely no evidence. I mean, just look at the workforce, right? I mean, a lot of these high-powered CEO positions, a lot of these high-powered political positions, legal positions, they're being taken by women now. And I can't say that I didn't see that coming several years ago. I mean, you've heard me mention that even back in the late 70s, early 80s, man, my mom was a businesswoman, man, her own business. You know, a lot of these women talk about being a boss chick now, man. I mean, she was doing that back in the 80s before it was a thing, man. So I saw this coming. I saw the way she raised my sister. I saw this era coming way before it hit. But like I said, man, the changes to this environment, it's a completely different environment that we're in right now. So what do? Introducing MGTOW. You know, and now in my opinion, MGTOW is the best thing to happen to men, man, in a few hundred years, right? I mean, it's almost like it had to take place to stop the bleeding. I mean, look at the things that have come against us, man. It had to take place. And we teach men to, you know, live life for your purpose. Leave women alone. Don't date, don't marry, don't have kids, don't do none of this stuff. Because that extreme measure had to be taken to stop the bleeding. But let's just be honest for 1 second, man. If we really believe this ideology, if we really believe this, then ultimately we lose. I mean, because ultimately what we're saying that needs to happen is that mankind needs to be extinct. Now, I'll be honest with you. I'll be 100% honest with you. A huge part of me wants to just see this whole thing burn down, man, and somehow start over. But another side of me, man, you know, I look at my son. I think of my son's son. And I would love him to just go through a different life, man. A life where, you know, where he could be a man, where he didn't have to worry about facing persecution for doing nothing, man. So in my opinion, you know, we're exactly where we need to be. See, man, if you think about it, chronologically, we're exactly where the woolly mammoth was, right? I mean, you had extreme changes. You had climate change. You had extreme changes in the environment. And in order to adapt very quickly, you know, the woolly mammoth, you know, along with several other animals, had to migrate. In other words, they had to go their own way. But then what? See, while several of the animals, like the alligators and the turtles, while these animals went and were given their young, those below them, the guidance and training them to survive and weather the storm, all the woolly mammoth did was sit around and complain all day and talk about how bad it was, talk about how bad the storm was, how the environment was just screwing the world over. You know, while the flying squirrels and the snakes and birds were out training their young, like, hey, this is how you're gonna prosper. Like, I might not be here to see the storm, but this is how you get past this. This is how we're gonna evolve. See, while they were out doing that, the woolly mammoth was just sitting around the pond all day talking to each other, saying that, you know, women ain't shit. You know what I mean? That was doing nothing for the woolly mammoth. See, they all made the right move at first, right? Climate change, extreme measures had to be taken. Everybody was migrating. But then, but then what? What do you do from that? You had to adapt. Everybody adapted. We're all adapting. Like I said, that's MGTOW. But now what? I mean, what I'm seeing, man, is a lot of us sitting around the watering hole, man, like the woolly mammoth, man, talking about how bad it is. We know how bad it is. We've talked about it. All of us have talked about it. If you look at my videos, go back to 2017. I got a full collage of videos talking about the situation we're in, talking about the courts, talking about marriage. We've talked about that. But now what? I mean, are we trying to just adapt and be extinct? Or are we trying to evolve and survive? You know what I mean? Now, we all know that there are some no good, ratchet, cheating, bipolar women out there, right? And I've always, from day one, said that I believe that 95% of the women are not even worth your time, and around 5% are considered, your better or your good women, right? That's my personal opinion. I think those numbers will be like that for the remainder of my life, right? I just think that. But when a man makes a blanket statement and says that all women ain't shit, really what it's doing is telling me about him. Really, when I hear a man say that all women are like this, really what it's doing is telling me what kind of environment that man has created for himself. It's telling me what kind of man he is personally. It's telling me about his ability to lead in this world. I'll give you an example. So I was in the military, right? I was a sergeant in the military. Now let's say my first sergeant came to me and said, hey, you know what? Get your team, and I got a task for you. And he said, you know, go complete this task, whatever it is. Now I take my guys and I go and I say, hey, you know what? Let's get this task done. So the first sergeant comes back, right? And he comes to the area and he looks around and it's chaos, right? He sees guys over there on a cell phone. He sees some guys sleep. He sees some guys over there shooting dice. And the first sergeant says, Sergeant, what's going on? And I look and say, hey, it ain't me. It's these soldiers that you gave me. Now what should he do? Should he dig in my ass, or should he dig in those soldiers' ass? He should dig in my ass, because it's me. I'm the one that lacked leadership. The same thing happened in the Bible, guys. Look at Genesis. When Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, and Adam heard God coming, and he was shaking in his boots, right? And God looked at the scene. He was like, "What happened?" Adam said, "It ain't me. It's this woman you sent me." Now that's the last thing Adam should have said. That's the absolute last answer he should have gave. And why is that? Because if you look like in I want to say it's the second chapter, don't quote me, but if you look early in the Bible, God said, I'm giving you this woman as a helpmate. In other words, God says, you over this whole scenario. Everything you see is yours. You running this world. So for a man to say that, this right here is jacked up, this right here is jacked, if the situation is jacked up, it's because you let it get jacked up. It's because you lack leadership skills. See, man, I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all today, man. I'm gonna throw my notes away, man, and I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all today. I heard a lot of y'all guys talk on these videos, man, and y'all talk about these scenarios, y'all talk about these situations, and a lot of times, man, I can't even identify. You know, you talk about women, they be doing me like this and blah blah blah. They make me. I'm like, God, I'm like, dude, it ain't a particular issue you dealing with that woman. I'm like, you just a weak ass man. See, a lot of y'all, and I'm gonna keep it 100. A lot of y'all guys are claiming to be MGTOW, but straight up, y'all incels. Y'all are involuntary celibates. Y'all have a problem getting women. Because this is what I'm seeing. This is what you're doing right here. This is what I'm seeing every day, right? So say, for example, I got a channel, and my channel is about not drinking alcohol. I'm like, guys, I used to be an alcoholic, but now I'm alcohol free. You should stop drinking alcohol. Don't drink alcohol. Don't touch it. Don't look at it. But every day I'm making videos doing this. I'm saying, hey, look at this bottle of Crown Royal. It's so brown. It looks like this. This Crown Royal is bad for you. Don't touch this Crown Royal. The next day I'm making a video like, oh, look at this. Look at this vodka. This vodka is horrible. This vodka ain't shit. Don't do this. Oh, the next day I'm like, oh, look at this brandy. This brandy is so brown. It's so crispy, but it ain't worth the dang. Don't touch it, guys. Don't touch it, guys. I got a channel about don't drink alcohol, but every day, that's all I'm talking about. If I'm sitting there telling you don't drink alcohol, then you would think my channel would be like, okay, what do we do as opposed to drink alcohol? Tell me about some fruit juice. Tell me about drinking water, the benefits of it. Tell me how I can win. And a lot of y'all, that's what y'all doing. Y'all sitting there saying, you know, leave women alone. Don't touch them. Don't do this. Don't do it. Okay. But tell me what I'm supposed to do. Yo, what y'all are doing, man, y'all are the woolly mammoths, man. Y'all are the woolly mammoths sitting around the water hole while the storm is coming, while the environment is changing, everything is getting worse, and all you want to do is complain about the now. All you want to say is don't mess with this, but you want to talk about it all day. That just blows my mind. That blows my mind. I just cannot make sense of that, guys. You know, a lot of it just comes down to men being men, guys. You know, there are a lot of males out here, but there are very few men. A lot of you guys are scared to lead women. A lot of y'all are scared to lead women. Now at no point in time am I saying, oh, you know, man, okay, now let's change, let's go out, let's start, man. No, I still stick to everything that I've always said. You got the 5%, you got the 95%. But what I'm saying is, in a lot of scenarios that I'm hearing, it's just the lack of man, it's just the lack of a man being a man. See, one thing that you know, a lot of we don't talk about as far as women, or maybe on some of these dating channels they talk about, women are gonna shit test you, right? A lot of time when a woman is giving you hell, it's really because she wants you to snap. She wants to see if you got that fire. She wants to see if you got the kahunas to have her, man. So she's giving you crap. And all you're doing is getting on the internet at night saying, oh, this woman did me like this, she said this. No, this woman may want you, but she don't want no weak ass man. She's wanting you to man up. For example, man, if you're talking to a girl and all she's talking about is oh, you know, you need to take me to these fancy restaurants, and oh, we need to go to, you know, Francois restaurant and have wine and do this. If you can't say, hey, you know what, we went out last weekend, like I got plenty of food in that refrigerator, like get your ass in the kitchen and make some food. Like, what are you talking about? If you can't see that, if you can't say that, then you ain't a man. Because I'm gonna tell you, if you do that, I'm gonna tell you how it's gonna play out. You tell that woman to get in there and get ass in the kitchen to make a meal after you've been spoiling her, what she gonna do is she gonna complain, she gonna make faces, but you know what she gonna do? This is exactly what she gonna do. She gonna walk in that kitchen, in her mind she gonna be like, yes, daddy. If I'm lying, I'm dying. If I'm lying, I'm dying. A lot of y'all are just scared to be men. And a lot of it is not your fault. It's because of the environment. You know, we've been placed in a position where a lot of men, we can't be men, and that's what we're going to. But it's time, man. It's time that we just not be complacent with adapting. It's time that we look forward and try to grow, man. All right, man, I hope you can hear me now. I was sitting by that window a second ago, man. It was so loud, I couldn't even hear myself talk. But how do we evolve? Now, there's one major difference between man and animal. See, when the environment changes and when the climate changes, an animal is forced to adapt and then evolve if the situation calls for it, right? But mankind is different. See, when our environment changes, when the climate changes and things get rough and it's a completely different world, we don't have to evolve. The only thing we have to do is revert. In other words, the only thing we have to do is remember who we are. And that's why I say that every man should go MGTOW monk at some point in his life. You know, I don't care what you call it. I don't care if you're married. At some point in time, every man should go MGTOW monk. Because this is the thing. And it's like I just said. Yes, we are dealing with a lot of issues. But for us to be men, and for us to complain about the world as it is, where there's laws, where there's women, what it's really saying is that us as men have dropped the ball. But because this is our world, you know. Walk outside and look at the trees and the plants and the grass. We're in charge of all this. You know what I'm saying? And it seems as if we're coming to a world, man, where women are ruling the show and running the game. But guys, I'm telling you, it's a facade. Look at the bridges. Look at the buildings. Look at the churches. Look at the schools. It's men that's building all this stuff. Now, if it's one thing we've shown the world as far as MGTOW is this. We've shown the world that we have the ability to pack our bags and go our own way. In other words, we say, you know what? We don't need women. We've shown the world that. And one thing that women can't do, women can't go their own way. Now, they can talk a good game. A lot of them talk this independent, you know, whatever BS. But I'm telling you, a woman needs and wants a man in her life, regardless of what she's saying. Regardless of what she's saying. She needs a man for protection and she wants a man to provide for her. That's just the way she's made up naturally. So guys, what we need to do, We've gone our own way. Like I said, MGTOW is needed. It's currently needed. We still need it. It's one of the best things that's happened to man, in my opinion, in the last several hundred years. But what we don't need to do is make the same mistake as the woolly mammoth. What we don't need to do is make the same mistake as the saber-toothed tiger. We've adapted. We know what's going on. We're fully aware. Now we need to focus on the next stage. Now we need to focus on growth. Now we need to ensure that men 20, 30, 40 years from now don't have to deal with the Me Too's and the false allegations and the poor child support payment court cases. That's what we need to do. We need to make sure that the men behind us are being the best versions of themselves. Screw sitting around the world talking about women ain't shit. Screw sitting around the pond talking about all the issues we're dealing with. Let's get past that, man. That's all I have on that, guys. It's your boy Soul Immortal. Now let's take a look at what you're missing on Patreon. And I can't help but start off by recognizing Jay-Z's quote. He says, "I'm not a businessman, I'm a business man." And I heard that song several times, but up to the point of me talking to this guy, that quote really made sense. Because what he told me, he said from this point on, he said you no longer see your financial situation as that of just a normal working man. You don't look at your bank statement as seeing how much you have left in the bank. He said everything that has to do with finances and yourself, you need to see it as a business, your business. In other words, you are a business. I just want to show you a quick example on the difference between the consumer mindset and the business mindset. So I'm going to say a word, right? And when I say this word, I want you to tell me what comes to mind. Ready? Facebook. Now, the consumer minded, the guy that's living paycheck to paycheck, the woman that's rocking the Louis purse and the red bottoms, this is what they saw. See, when I say a word like Facebook, they think about Key Lolo and them getting married. They wonder about what Reggie is doing. They think about the latest gossip and all this nonsense. But the business-minded person, the person whose life is in profitability autopilot, the person who is more interested in collecting commas than collecting Jordans, this is what they see. See, if we would have put $1 in the